to another session of BBB virtual training. And our topic for today is about how do we create an offline activity. At least for this discussion, just to give you a context, we will just refer to assignment as our offline activity. Okay, so in short, how do you create assignments in your course or in your class in MySoul platform, right? First, the basic steps, you have to log into your account in the MySoul platform, and you have to go inside your course. Now, I will be using the same sample course that I have been using from the past session. The sample subject, for me to go inside the course, I'll just click the name of the course in my personal menu page. So right now I'm inside my course, and again, this is the what we so called course page. So as you can see on the left side, you have the sections of your course, and on the right side, you have the content, right? So first, you have to determine under what lesson or under what topic are you going to create the assignment. So like, for example, I want to create an assignment in lesson number 3. So I will, of course, go to lesson 3. And from here, I will simply click create learning activity, this one. And make sure that you are in the activities tab and look for assignments. Usually it's the first icon here on the list. So just click assignment. And this is the assignment settings window. So this is where you're going to set up the assignment itself, right? So let's first focus on the settings here in the left side. So as you can see, you have assignment name. So what's the name of your assignment? For example, this is assignment 1. And the name is, or the title of my assignment is History of Computer. Okay. And next to that is the description. So what is your assignment all about? So in the description box, this is where you're going to encode or type the actual instruction of your assignment, right? So like, for example, I have a sample assignment here for History of Computer. I just copy this one and paste. So the assignment is create a video animation about the history of computer. So that's the instruction of my assignment. Okay. And then next to that, just below the description, make sure to enable if you want that the description will be displayed in the course page, or you can also disable this one. If the display description on course page is disabled, the students cannot see the instruction of the assignment, not unless they're going to click or open the assignment itself. But if this is enabled, meaning even in the course page, the students can immediately see what the assignment is all about. So that's a display description on course page. And then right below this, that option, you have the due date. So in face-to-face, if we have deadlines, this is the equivalent of deadline in a face-to-face scenario, so due date. So you can set the due date. For example, the due date of this assignment will be on, just say, July 20. Okay, for here, let me just check. Okay, 17. So Friday, that will be Friday, July 17. And yeah, the time would be at 5 p.m. See? So again, in terms of the hour, this is a 24-hour format platform. So 5 p.m. is 17, right? So there. So the due date is on July 17 at 5 p.m. As you can see, this is enabled. If you want to disable the due date, you don't want to incorporate due date in your assignment, you can just disable this option by unchecking the enable option. So that's it for the settings on the left side. The next, we will focus on some of the settings here in the right side. Let's start with the very top setting, the visibility. Of course, if you want to show the assignment immediately after saving it, just leave it to default as a show on course page. But if you want to hide the assignment, at least for now, you can change from a show on course page to hide from students. But for me, I'll just select show on course page, so that, so what I've said, immediately after saving, it will be available to your students. And then we have the availability. So in the availability option, we have 3 main options. You can the allow submission from date, the cutoff date, and the remind me to grade by. So allow submission basically is just a date where you're going to set so that the students will know that this is the day that you're going to allow submission. So before this date, students cannot submit any submission because then again, you're not allowing any submissions yet before that particular date. So like for example, you created the assignment now and you want to allow submission starting next week, Monday. So you can just change it from 8. So Monday next week is what, 13. So I will change it to 13, and the time would be, let's for example, it's a 6 a.m. So you will be allowing submissions from, or you will be accepting submission from July 13. Okay, and the due date is on July 17, right? So that's allow submission from. If you want to disable this option, you can just uncheck this one, meaning the moment that you save the assignment, the students can immediately submit any submissions to this particular assignment. But if you want, you can also enable it and change the dates. Right after allow submission from is the cutoff date. So what's the difference between the cutoff date and the due date? So basically a due date, even if it's past due date, students can still submit any submissions to this particular assignment, but then they will be marked as late. But in terms of cutoff date, if it's past cutoff date, students can no longer submit any submission to this assignment. So that's the main difference. So by default, this is disabled. If you want to enable the cutoff date, you can just enable here, check the enable box and change the cutoff date to whatever it is that you preferred. Okay, but make sure that the cutoff date should be after the due date and not before the due date. Okay, so I will just disable it for now, and then remind me to grade by is basically just for teachers, so that you will receive an email notification from MySol platform informing you that you need to grade this particular assignment. So by default, this is enabled. If you want to disable this one, you can also uncheck the box there. So that's for availability, right? And then we'll proceed with the submission type. So as you can see, you have two main submission types. Students can either submit a file submission or they can do the submission online, which is an online text. So it really depends upon the kind of assignment that you're asking from your students. Like for example, in my case, I'm asking about a video animation. So more or less, students cannot type the answer in a text box, right? So basically, they're going to submit a file. So in that case, I will be using file submission. Or for example, you want that the students will only give you the link of their video. Like for example, the video is uploaded in Google Drive or in YouTube, then you can activate online text. And don't you worry, you can activate both online text and file submission. So just for ease of access in terms of the student standpoint, just activate both. So the online text and file submission. So that's it for the submission type. And then we have the feedback type. So the feedback type, it's very important that you check, make sure that annotate PDF is always checked, and by default that's checked. And also feedback comments, activate feedback comments and change comment inline to yes. Okay, so that's it. And submission settings, by default, students are not required to click the submit button, meaning if a student decides to change the submission, he or she can then change any submission. But if you're going to change this to yes, the moment that the student submit a submission, he or she cannot change that particular submission, not unless the teacher will allow, right? So here also require, are you going to require your students to accept the submission statement? If yes, you can change it to yes. So basically the submission statement is just a brief statement. It's a required statement so that students will agree or accept that the submission is his or her own. Okay. And then attempts reopen. So are you going to reopen the attempts to your students? By default, it's never, meaning you can never reopen any attempts. So like for example, the students ask that you open his or her attempt because he or she submitted a wrong file or a wrong document. Then by default, it says never, so you can never do that. But you can always go back to the settings and change it just in case you will encounter those kinds of scenarios. Or you can set it here to manually, and then you can the maximum attempts is 2, meaning you can allow any students, but this is manual, right? This is not automatic that students can submit 2 attempts. So this is manual. A teacher can reopen an attempt to a particular students, and the maximum attempts is 2. So that's the submission settings. Now, the group submission, is this a group activity or not? So if this is, then you can just change it to yes, and then you choose what grouping is to be used for this particular assignment. So currently, I have 2 groupings in my class. I have assignment 1 of the project. So like, for example, this is for assignment 1, and this is a group activity. So I will just choose assignment 1, and that's for group submission, right? And then we have the Plaid Scan. So Plaid Scan is actually a anti-plagiarism software that is embedded in our Soul platform. So since this is a video animation, so Plaid Scan will not work because it only works for text documents. Okay. So for example, if your assignment is requiring the students to submit a file or a text document, then you can use Plaid Scan. So how do you use Flag Scan? You simply open the Flag Scan option, and then uh, here are you going to enable Flag Scan for file submission? Currently it says no, and if you want to use it, you can use Start Check immediately, meaning the moment that the student submits the file, it will be checked immediately by Flag Scan system and see if this is a plagiarized submission. Okay. So by the way, just one quick information in terms of the usage of Plagscan. Currently, Plagscan will not work with online text submission. It's being worked by the system. So do not enable Plagscan for online text submission. So if you want to use Plagscan, make sure or instruct your students to submit that as a file document. So you can have it in a notepad, or you can have it in a Microsoft Word or in a text pad, but never in an online text. It will not work with online text. Okay, so just enable Flag Scan for online text submission. Just leave it to no. Now, share results with students. Are you going to share the results? Like in Plagscan, you have the result of 0 to 100%. 0 being original, and 100% means it's 100% plagiarized. So are you going to share the result to your students? By default, it says never. You can change it to always, so that every result will be changed or will be shared to your students. And what kind of result are you going to share with to your students? Is it just the level, like the one that I made mention, the 0 and 100, or including the reports? The report actually contains, if it's a plagiarized document, the report could contain the files or the books where that particular submission is taken from. Okay, so if you want to share the result, just the flag level, then you can do that. So that's how flag scan works. And then you have the grade, the maximum grade. So what's the maximum grade for this particular assignment? Let's, for example, this is a 50-point assignment. And in the grading method, so you have 4 options. You can use, actually, you can actually use rubric if you want, but at least for now, we will be using the simple direct grading. So the simple direct grading is just the teacher grades a particular assignment. Okay, and then that's actually it. So in terms of creating a basic assignment, and once done, you just have to click save a display, and it will be available to your students. So that's how you create an assignment in My Soul platform.